all over. Now, I could have run straight to my expansion to try to protect it, but that puts me in sort of a do-or-die situation, right? That becomes a critical fight for both of us, and since he just won a fight, I'm not entirely confident that I would end up winning that. And so what I've chosen to do instead is to go creep. You know, I have a much better creeping army than he does. You know, he has a pretty weak army. He needs to get some skeletons out before he can creep effectively. And so I've chosen to you know, creep one of the hardest camps on the map, which I can do very easily with bears, which will, you know, give me some good items, some gold, and also give me the opportunity to lay down another expansion at a place that he's probably not going to scout. So I've chosen to, you know, instead of committing to a really potentially risky fight, I've chosen to try to gain more of an advantage in the game by, you know, creeping harder than he is, and setting up another expansion that he probably won't see. So I'm going to continue to creep very aggressively here. You know, again, the other thing about bears is that it's a very strong creeping army. I'm also leveling up my heroes really hard. You know, I just got level 5 on my Demon Hunter, which is obviously going to be really good. And now I can concentrate on leveling up my other heroes. I'm just creeping this Merc Camp, which will potentially give me a pretty good item. Of course, I got a Scroll of the Beast. I always get Scroll of the Beast, especially when I'm going bears. So you'll notice he's scouting around the map right now looking for my expansions, but he's not going to check that red camp in the upper left. And so that was probably a pretty good decision on my part. Meanwhile, I'm scouting looking for his expansions. You'll notice I have scout wisps at both of his natural expansion spots. And I've seen that he has a constructing expansion on the south side of the map. So you'll notice that the time, and you know, in the time in that last fight, you know, he canceled an expansion and crept one camp, but I crept 2 really hard camps and put down that expansion again. So that was probably, you know, some pretty good decision making on my part in terms of how I chose to use that time. I might have been able to fight him and win, but I feel like this was a little bit more solid. So now I feel like, again, I'm in a pretty good position army-wise. I you know, picked up some items on my heroes. I have some invulnerability. I have some healing. I've started researching armor upgrades for my bears, which is generally a pretty good idea against dryads. It makes it much harder for them to focus them down. And now I'm going to go take out this expansion, which is very easy to do with roared bears. It'll go down pretty quick. And so he's going to have to deal with my army, and my expansion is now up. So I'm back into a pretty nice position in this game. Of course, if you look at his food count right now, he has a much larger army than me, which is going to happen. But the reason you go bears is just for, like I said, you know, durability. You know, he's going to have a larger army than you, but you're going to be able to preserve your army slightly better. So if you watch how this fight goes, you know, he's focusing down my bears. He hasn't really killed anything yet. Meanwhile, I've killed a lot of his units. There was one unit that was close to dying. I was able to staff it. I was able to staff that other bear right there. And you'll notice that now, immediately, I'm going to town portal out. I should have done it a hair sooner. I should have been able to save one more bear. But I was able to kill a great deal of his units. You know, now he went from 75 food down to 54. Meanwhile, I went from 60 food only down to 54. So that's the kind of durability I'm talking about. And so I knew that I was in a position where I was about to lose a lot. I was about to lose my other bears and then the rest of my dryads. So I chose to just TP out after doing some damage to him, which is also very safe given the fact that I've established a resource advantage. So now, with the resource advantage, I can very easily, you know, rebuy my town portal scroll, and continue pumping bears, knowing that he doesn't have an expansion up just yet. He's being clever and placing expansion on the right side of the map here, which I'm not immediately going to scout. But you know, again, I had tier 3. I have you know, the more durable units. I have 3 heroes, which is nice, which I'm able to creep up here. And I'm able to creep very easily. You know, this army in general is just very strong late game, and much stronger than trying to out dryad him, if you ask me. You know, when you know that your opponent is going Priestess, Dark Ranger, Mass Dryads, a lot of players try to counter that with Mass Dryads of their own. That's fine. You know, if you want to just go head-to-head, obviously that works. But I've always sort of felt like, you know, the Priestess is obviously a stronger complement to a Mass Dryad army than a Demon Hunter, and if you're going Demon Hunter, you should go an army that's more complementary to the Demon Hunter, which is bears. Bears with, you know, orb and staffs and such. And so now here we are again. If you notice, this time I'm up at 70 food, and he's only at 65, so this fight is probably going to go a lot better for me. You'll notice he's trying to go after my Dryads right away and taking a huge punishment for it. You know, my heroes are doing just a lot of damage to him. So he's you know, he's taking out my Dryads pretty quickly here, but I have lost no bears. And at this point, you know, I have a 63 food army to his 47. My expansion's up and running, and I'm in good position. And so the reason I like this army is because it puts your opponent in sort of a difficult position. You know, if he tries to run through your army to take out the Dryads like he just did, he's going to lose a lot, which is exactly what just happened. But if he doesn't take out the Dryads, then Dryad Bear is going to be stronger than just pure Dryad. And he's going to have to focus down the bears, which you can staff very easily. So I feel like this is a strong counter. And all of this was made possible by the fact that I had a strong opening against his Huntresses. You know, I turtled up my base really nicely. I had you know, I had good base position. I had, you know, the extra buildings, the Ancient of War and the Ancient Protector in my base that was a strong deterrent to him trying to, you know, Ancient Protector rush me. And so that sort of forced him to back off and expand in tech. And now his options after teching aren't as strong as mine, which is what you buy when you go Demon Hunter. You'll notice I was just sort of trying to make sure that he didn't have another expansion up. I scouted the one place where I thought he would have expanded, but I actually missed the one on the right side of the map. So that was some poor scouting by me. You can do a better job in your games.
Research finished.
But at this point, you know, I'm in a very strong position. I have my bears are now pretty upgraded. I have, you know, 5/5/3 heroes to his 5/4. And so he's now he sees this expansion. It was a pretty it was in a good position, so obviously he didn't scout it. And he's gonna see my army and know that the game is pretty much over. So that was just a rundown on one way to fight Huntresses when you're playing Demon Hunter on a map like Twisted Meadows, which is traditionally, you know, a pretty good map for Huntresses and Mirror. A lot of times players who go DH will often go Huntresses on that map. And so if you're like me and you like to play Demon Hunter and Mirror, so hopefully that should give you some good information about how to play against Huntresses. So, like I said, hopefully I'll be back to the site doing more content for you guys at some point. For now, if you anybody who's interested, feel free to send me a PM on the site if you're interested in more of my work. There's going to be, I will potentially have more content, more audio content and strategy content of other kinds coming up soon. You'll be able to find out more about it on www.clang3.net, or you can ask me. Otherwise, hopefully I'll be back on WCR for all you guys at some point in the future. So yeah, this has been Balance from WCReplays.com. Have a good day.